I'm Jordan Ann Craig. I'm Northern Cheyenne from California, and I am the current Eric and Barbara Dobkin Fellow here at School for Advanced Research. Both of my parents are from Livingston, Montana, and my mom was actually adopted from the reservation into a very eclectic family. We embraced that we were Native, but we did not have too much cultural contact because we never lived in Montana, me and my sisters, but we went back to Montana all the time, and my mom is in contact with her biological mother, Jeannie, who lives on the reservation now. So we do have that contact still, but there definitely is a big gap in our knowledge and our experiences because we grew up away from that, and also because my mother was adopted. This paint is for the body of work I'm doing with dots. I make these dot drawings that are more of like a meditative process, actually. I use Q-tips and I repeat the same dot over and over in these lines. Right now I'm extremely inspired, of course, by the landscape of New Mexico and the various plateaus and peaks and flatness, but one of the huge influences I have is Aboriginal art. I really love looking at Aboriginal art and seeing their worlds realized on these canvases. So when I first started doing these paintings with the Q-tip, I was really thinking about that. So I don't plan these out, actually. I just go with how I feel, and I make these natural compositions. For me, the dots I'm creating in these pieces, they're not perfect dots. They're not perfect shapes. Each of them has something unique about them, and some of them look more like beads, which I think is really interesting, and others look more like a little stamp. Some are just really perfect, but most of them have different textures, and there's variation and shifts. You can see where I pick up and leave off, and when I change Q-tips. And I like that, and I like that you wouldn't necessarily know what the tool was when you're looking at the piece, and you might not even know that they were all dots until you get up closer. So I like that nuance, and I like that subtlety. I picked these colors really specific to things I've been looking at. I was really inspired by the color of mud that was on some of the dancers at Santo Domingo Pueblo. And they smeared their bodies with this mud that was probably had ochre in it, this color. And it just transformed them. And they were these art pieces dancing. And I decided to make this painting directly from just these colors I've been seeing around and different lights that I'm seeing. These are oil paintings, but it's almost like I'm drawing with the dot. So I like to think about it like that as well. I've been doing art for a long time. Ever since I was little, I've always been drawing and painting and creating things. And my parents are extremely artistic too, even though they might not admit to it. My father is a chemical engineer, and my mother's been my mother since I was growing up. And my father can draw extremely realistically, and he's always painted and created things. He built all the furniture in our home at one point. He painted all of our walls, built the furniture. My mother would sew the cushions. She sewed all of our clothing. And so out of necessity, they created everything that we owned for the most part. And that had a huge impact on me as a creator and a maker, and also my siblings. But they raised us in a really artistic family, so I got lucky. And also me and my sisters were always drawing, and we only wanted art supplies for the most part growing up. And my parents supported that, and I'm really lucky they were able to provide us with art supplies and enter us into contests. And I was always taking art classes and extra art classes, and always in the art room at lunch. So this body of work is influenced from SAR's collection here. I'm looking at these pots, and graphically, the paintings on them are just absolutely beautiful. I'm reimagining the patterns, and this is a Laguna pot. It's my favorite from the collection, actually. So I've enlarged it and then kind of redesigned it in a little bit of my own language and my own aesthetic. So after I have the perfect surface, I use my projector and I project the design I've designed to the canvas. And I use tape to mask off the lines and make the perfect geometries. And for this work, it's really important to have these clean lines. My goal with my project is to create my own stories in these patterns. So this is the first painting I started in my residency here, and it's titled A New Home. So it's basically about me living by myself for the first time and making work and building my own home here. This is my first time in New Mexico, so this piece is about that. So a great challenge has been utilizing the influence here in a respectful way. It's something that I'm still working out and I'm still discussing with other natives and other artists today. I'm recontextualizing the original work. I'm trying to make it less about the hand and more about just the design and the pattern. And so having hand-drawn lines would be pretty distracting. Both of these bodies of work have this crucial element of structure to them. Basically, they become big puzzles to me, and how do I get the result that I want in the most elegant way possible? I think I was able to thrive at Dartmouth because I had my art, and I was able to spend a lot of my time making art. And that's what motivated me, and I did really well in my art classes because of all the support, and I just had a true passion for it. And I majored in studio art and psychology. I was a double major, and I spent most of my time in the art room, and professors really pushed me and made me think really critically about what I was doing, what I was making, how my culture and my background influenced what I was making. And I just had to be extremely thoughtful. So as a native student at Dartmouth, I was able to do well because I had that community of artists around me. And also I had the native community as well, which was really helpful. And I like how this painting has almost like a textile or a blanket vibe to it. And so it's titled Keep Me Warmer. I learn something new every day here. I feel like I learn something new every day when I make art. So I'm really happy I've had this opportunity to explore, play, mess up, start over. In addition to painting, I also do a lot of printmaking. I'm mostly a printmaker recently, and I'm doing a fellowship that allows me to travel and study printmaking in various communal print shops around Europe. So I was living in Venice, Italy for 3 months last winter, and then I visited Ireland for a few weeks in January. And so I was just there right before arriving to the School for Advanced Research. And right after this experience, I will be moving forward and going back to Europe, and I'll be printmaking in Amsterdam and then London. So I'm mostly excited because I'm going to be incorporating everything that I'm learning here and everything I'm doing into that work going forward. So all of these really large paintings will become screen prints and become artist books. And I'm extremely excited to see the work on a different scale and also in a different medium. And I'm really happy that I can continue this research that I'm doing here in my prints. So this is one of the earlier paintings I did in my residency. It's titled Ladybugs Are Birds. It's modeled after an Acoma pot where there were these deers that were facing each other in the same pattern, the same system where they would face each other. So I utilized kind of the composition of the deer and the color and also the way it patterned to model my painting. I feel incredibly lucky and blessed to be working here. I'm learning so much every single day, and I'm honored to follow an incredibly talented and inspiring group of women who came before me as fellows here. And I'm exploring so many new things to me and bringing in more Indigenous influence to my work and things that are more concrete because my work is very abstract. It's been a true joy to make new work and exciting work that people can relate to, that people can look at and hopefully recognize some of the influence. And this is my first time in New Mexico, and it's been incredible to explore the landscape and meet really supportive people here. Yeah, having the time and the space, the support, the facilities to make this pretty large body of work. I'm really happy with my work and how it's coming out. Yeah, I've been able to work with the IARC multiple times. I've had at least 3-4 visits to the collection to look at the pots, smell the pots, touch the pots. It's just incredibly inspiring to have that influence and have that right there and 10 steps away from me. With this body of work, I mean, I've had to ask a lot of questions and learn a lot and ask people very simple things that I'm like I've been saying, I've been learning a lot, and having this opportunity to learn and grow in my own practice and push my work further has been incredibly rewarding, because some of my work is just so abstract, or it's just so in my head, that it's nice to have something that is so concrete to relate it to, and that's been a huge push in my work that I've been needing. And I know that this will carry on to all of my future projects. That's the big question, is what do you want to do when you grow up? And I think ultimately I just want to keep creating and making as much work as I can and make beautiful things, push myself, make bigger things, make three-dimensional objects, learn new talents, learn new mediums. So continue making art as long as possible. I'm curious too to see where my aesthetic changes, where my work takes me, and seeing how specifically this work influences my work in the next 5 years. I mean, I could study pots for the rest of my life, I think. So it's really exciting. So in terms of specifics, who knows? But I think in general, I want to be making work. I want to be creating. I want to be working with other artists, working with other natives too. So, and working with my family.